Hey, this is Jbat, and today I will be doing a review for the official comic adaptation of the film Batman Returns. And Batman Returns was released in 1992, so this is basically the official comic adaptation of the film, a comic book version of the film, and it is well made. It looks exactly like the film, you know what I'm saying, panel for panel, scene for scene, even like the dialogue is almost exactly the same. So this will be my review for the official comic adaptation of Batman Returns. This is J-Bat. Hey, what's up? This is J-Bat, and today I will be doing a review for the official comic adaptation of Batman Returns. As you can see, this is the comic book right here itself. And I've had this for over like 20 years. I originally got this when Batman Returns was in theater. I remember even going to see the film. And plus I even picked up this comic adaptation from like a comic book store at the time, when I was reading comic books a lot. So yeah, this will be my review for Batman Returns, the official comic adaptation. Now this comic adaptation is exactly like the film, just like the previous one I did for the original Batman film from 1989. It's exactly like that. It's just like the film, like the artwork in it. Now this time the writer that returned was Dennis O'Neil. He did return again, like to do the writing job on it. But the penciler this time was Steve Irwin. And then they had an inker called Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Then you had a colorist who was Tom McGraw, and plus the letterer, which was John Costanza. And now the letterer, John Costanza, he also did it for Batman, the official comic adaptation, the original one. Then the same editor returned, Jonathan Peterson. But yeah, this is exactly like the film. Like I said before, with the previous comic adaptation of the original Batman film from '89. If you read this, you wouldn't even have to watch the film. It is exactly like the film, like panel for panel. Like some of the dialogue is kind of slightly different, and some of like the actions that they did, and some of like the characters had did, some of the movement, like just slight movements or certain, like see like with Batman, if he threw a batarang, he didn't throw it in the movie and stuff like that. Certain stuff be kind of off. But if you actually read this, it's so exactly like the film. You wouldn't even need to watch the film, you know what I'm saying? And it is very well done. Like my only thing I was noticing, like the artist, whoever was doing like the Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton this time in here, it didn't look as good as the Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne in the original Batman comic adaptation. It still looked like Michael Keaton, like exactly like him, but it didn't really look as good as the one from the '89 adaptation, comic adaptation. I thought it was kind of slightly off. But everybody else resembled how they looked at, like Michael Keaton looked good as Bruce Wayne, Dan, what I'm saying, Batman or whatever. Then you had like the artwork for Danny DeVito as Oswald Cobblepot the Penguin, and the artwork for Selena Kyle as a Catwoman. I thought they did good. Or like Christopher Walken as Max Schreck and stuff they did, or Michael Goff as Alfred, you know what I'm saying? I thought all those looked excellent, looked just like their actors did. Now Gordon was kind of off, like the artwork for Jim Gordon, Commissioner, like Pat Hingle played him. I thought that was kind of off somewhat, but everybody looked at exactly like they did, except like I say, like Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, it was kind of off. It didn't look as good as the original comic adaptation, from the '89. So I'm going to touch on the differences in it without spoiling anything. Like certain scenes in it that were different from the film were like at the beginning with the Penguin being in the sewer. In the comic book, he actually spoke at the very beginning. He says, "Ooh, Batman, I'm trembling." Like when he sees like the bat signal when they're calling Batman for help, when it's like a Red Triangle Circus gang is attacking, the citizens of Gotham at the very beginning during Christmas. In the film, the Penguin didn't say anything. You just saw his hands through like the bars. But here you see his hands on the bars or whatever, but he actually speaks. He says, "Oh, Batman, I'm trembling." Like he's scared because he see the bat signal. Now, he didn't say that in the film, you know what I'm saying? So that's what had like a difference. And I guess some of the stuff was originally supposed to be in the film, but they decided to, like to cut it out in the end. Plus in the comic adaptation, when you see like Bruce Wayne, like what I'm saying, and the Wayne Man and the bat signal come on in the film, you don't see that in the comic adaptation. You don't see Bruce Wayne at all. He just out suddenly shows up as Batman in the Batmobile after Gordon puts the signal up. But in the film, you actually saw Bruce Wayne, sitting in Wayne Manor like this, looking around, Then he sees the bat signal. Now that is not in the comic adaptation. When Max pushes his Selena from the window, his son Chip shows up, and that also wasn't in the film. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't in the film at all. And then when Selena falls to the ground, you know, she didn't say anything in the film. You know what I'm saying? The cast just came up and resurrected her. But in the comic adaptation, she says, "Miss Kitty, help me." You know what I'm saying? I think Miss Kitty was like the name of her cat. You know. Then Batman, when he's like fighting in Gotham City, and he had that bomb that he was carrying around. In the film, he actually put the bomb on one of the Penguin's henchmen, like one of the members of the Red Triangle Circus gang. But in the comic adaptation, he throws the bomb in the sewer, then it explodes. You know what I'm saying? Plus, in Bruce and Selena Kyle, they don't have a date at Wayne Manor like they did in the film. And then another thing was Alfred was also at Max Shrek's costume party, which was not in the film. He wasn't in at the party in the film, you know, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I thought this was like well made, you know what I'm saying? They did like a good job on it, you know. And I had this ever since I remember getting this back when the film was out in 1992. So I had this like over 20 years, you know. And I kept it in good condition, you know. And I would highly recommend this. And if you read this, you wouldn't even have to see the film. It's exactly like the film, panel for panel. You know what I'm saying? Screen for, shot for shot, dialogue. Like some of it would be slightly different, but I mean it's exactly like it. And as you can see, I had both the film, the comic adaptation, and Batman Returns, where I like the film to itself. As you can see. Okay, this is Jbat. Alright. So yeah, this is my review for Batman Returns, and this is Jbat. Okay, as you can see, this is Batman Returns, the official comic adaptation. And this was the cover right here, as you can see, you know. Now the artwork, it was done by Dennis again. Like, well, Dennis actually wrote the story again, you know. But this time you had like a group of like different artists. As you can see right here, you had a Steve Irwin. And you had a Jose Luis, you know what I'm saying, Garcia Lopez. And you also had like the colorist, which was Tom McGraw. And the lettering was done by John Constanza. And he did the lettering for the first Batman official comic adaptation. And the editor again was Jonathan Peterson. So yeah, the cover was cool. And actually had somebody who did the cover this time that didn't actually do like the artwork. And his name is David Dorman. So yeah, this is the actual look of it, you know, how it looks, the cover. Beautiful cover, you know. And this is the back of the cover. As you can see, it had like Catwoman on it and a penguin or whatever, you know. And I had like various other scenes throughout the film, and it looks exactly like the film, you know. And I've had this for like over 20 years. I had got this when this originally was in the theater. When the Batman Returns film was out, that's when I had got the comic adaptation, because I was reading comic books real heavily at the time. So I managed to get this when it was out, you know. So these are just some of the images of it, you know. And like I said, I had this for like over 20 years. And it's exactly the same as the film, you know. Like various like scenes, I'm saying. Like if anything, some of the dialogue is off. And some of like certain things that they did in it was kind of different too, you know. And I also believe that whoever drew Michael Keaton this time as Bruce Wayne, they didn't do as good as a job as the person that drew him in their first official comic adaptation for the original Batman film from '89. The Bruce Wayne in this one doesn't look exactly like Michael Keaton to that extent. He does though, but not as good as the original 1989 comic adaptation, you know. Okay. It has nice images, it's beautiful, well done, you know. It looks exactly like the counterparts of the actors, you know, their characters that they play. It looks exactly like Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, Batman, or Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, and even Michelle Pfeiffer as Selena Kyle, Catwoman. They did a very good job on this, you know. There are various scenes from the film. Okay. So this is Batman Returns, the official comic adaptation of the Warner Brothers motion picture. And this is Jbat. In the end, Batman Returns is a great comic adaptation of the film, you know. I thought it was very well drawn, you know, the artwork in it, the dialogue. You wouldn't even have to watch the film if you read this a comic adaptation, you know. That's how well made it was, you know what I'm saying? Like the artwork truly resembles the actors that played the characters, you know, like Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, and, you know, Michelle Pfeiffer. They all truly resemble their actual like film counterparts, you know, in the artwork. So this is Jbat, and this is my review for Batman Returns, the comic adaptation.